What's going on, Mike? Oh, you unmute yourself, brother. Unmute yourself.
Hi, how you doing? Apologies for being slightly late. I had some tech issues.
Hey, it's all good, man. It's all good. I don't think anybody's gonna hold you like that. I think we all very appreciative that you took some time to join us and give your knowledge and answer some questions to the Wolfpack family. So we definitely appreciate that. So we're not gonna sweat you on that time, man.
Well, I hope I have some knowledge to give. I perhaps might be learning more from everybody else. So.
Okay, that might work too. So
yeah.
First, very good day to you. Thank you for coming back, especially for the Wolves Den part of it. We appreciate that as a family. Let's get into like where we kind of left off last on the last episode. Now, have you all been doing any racing since we last had that episode? Y'all had any events since then?
Yeah, actually, we had so round. I think they're 12 rounds. So we had round 9 and 10 for the national championship that Josh was participating in.
Okay.
It went okay. He had a difficult first day where I think they were round 9. He finished 6th, but then he really pulled it together in the second in the round 10, and he came 3rd. A few decisions from the umpires, I think, had they gone our way, he might have actually come first. But you can't, when the stewards make decisions, sometimes
so elaborate on that, how that actually works.
Yeah, sure. Apologies. It's by the way, it's like the hottest time we've ever had here in the UK. So my glasses.
I'm hearing.
Right. So the way it works is that, of course, when you're racing, there are certain infringements that the stewards could take issue with. So it includes things like track limits, as an example. So if you go over track limits too often, then you get penalized for that. For Joshua's class, they have what they call a rolling start. So they don't start on a grid, they start whilst they're moving. And so one of the things that you see take place there is when they start whilst they're moving, they can't sort of jump the grid line until they've passed the start finish line. And so sometimes they police that. And then there's also when you overtake, if you the person who's trying to overtake, if there's not enough room, or they haven't been given one car width, then the person who didn't give them one car width can get penalized. But also you could be turning people and bashing people out the way to gain an advantage. So there's a few of those sort of rules that take place. We had on the penultimate corner, somebody pushed into Joshua, and he lost his position as a result. Then that's debatable. We would usually appeal that. Go to the stewards, but we didn't this time. I think, and I'll speak quite candidly here. Sometimes you've got to, if you complain a lot, right? You can be branded as a complainer, right? And equally, sometimes it's not necessary to have unnecessary attention drawn towards yourself. Because a lot of those sort of decisions are at the discretion of the stewards. So you sort of got to choose when it's worth complaining.
You got to choose your battles.
Choose your battles. That's yeah.
So when you're dealing with that, is there anything else that you're considering besides just being labeled a complainer? Is there anything else that's going through your mind as far as like, are there certain umpires or officials that are at every race, or are these specific to the track that you have to be worried about building that continuity with? So do you also take that into consideration?
Yeah, I think you absolutely take all of that into consideration. The stewards, a bit like Formula One, I think they do follow them round. And for this championship, we have the same sort of setup. But then there are also marshals for each track that, are volunteers for the day. But they tend to stay at their respective tracks. Some of them will travel. It's useful, as you know, in anything in life, to maintain a good relationship with those in those positions. The last thing you need is a negative relationship. In my experience, that is the last thing that it's not helpful for you in any way. Yeah.
Facts. Okay, so let's speak to a little bit before I also start opening up the floor for the members. about the transition from karting to Formula One, because there may be a lot of things in there that most people are not aware of. So if you could speak to that, and then that way, and then we're going to open the floor for you members to ask Mike questions. Like I said, we're going to do the raise hand thing. So as I see the hands raised, I will start there. Try not to do any like combo, triple combo, killer instinct questions where like they tripled up for one package. You know, that's good when we're shopping, but when we're asking questions, and then I'll come back around to you again if you raise your hand again. So Mike, speak a little bit about that transition from karting to Formula One, and even the financial side of that.
Okay. Yeah, no, let's talk about that. So a couple of things. I think the place to start is an understanding that journey in itself is incredibly opaque, right? It's far from transparent for anybody. So it's one of those industries that if you know, then you know. And then coming as an outsider, if you don't know, it's going to be a real mission to try and find out what you're supposed to do. Okay, so that's the first thing I'll share with everybody. It's like that. So then, obviously, you start karting. What you want to do is really be competitive in as many national recognized championships as possible. You want to do outdoor karting because obviously you have indoor karting as an option. But really, for the progression that you're trying to make, particularly if you're really like looking to get into F1, what I'm aware of is that outdoor karting, I don't know anybody who's come from indoor karting into F1. So let's follow the path that has been laid out before us, and it's outdoor competitive karting. Then once you've done that, at some stage you probably best off participating in FIA karting championships if you're still young, right?
Okay.
And that basically puts you in the circuit, you know. So the FIA circuit, primarily in Europe, actually, I'll say they've got a couple of FIA championships around there that are worth getting into. That is also where you tend to see any of the drivers who are part of young driver programs within the teams, whether it's McLaren, Mercedes, I believe Sauber at some stage were there as well, Red Bull. You tend to see a few of their candidates, if you like, participating in that. So if your aim, you know, from my perspective, is to increase your visibility, and that's where they are. You know, like with any business, you want to be where your customers are, right? So at that stage, you know, you get into those. And again, all I'm doing is following the path that we've been able to determine by looking at how by backward engineering, so reverse engineering that. So we're looking at the people who've been in F1, and we've gone back and worked out all the different things that they participated in. And what we're trying to do is replicate that, right? So for most of them, particularly those in the UK, it's that same path. You know, a couple of those, even who've come from America, have had to end up in an FIA race at some point.
Okay.
Karun Chandok, who I've got to know, actually he came from India, participated in part of the Asiatic races, and then ended up in F3. So after you've done all the karting, you end up in the F series. I believe it's F3, then F2 that you're really trying to get into. And then eventually you're hoping to get into one of the 22 seats in F1, right? So that's the journey. Cost-wise, wow, I think I talked briefly about it. So national championships is just here in your own, you know, locally in the UK, it's ridiculously expensive, right? So you have, and it's a range, okay? So you have people who are paying from about £24,000 a year to those who are paying £90,000 a year, right? And those costs go into things like, first of all, being part of the team. You have to own your kart, so you might have X amount of chassis. You have engines. The engines need to be dynoed. They need to be, you know, basically put together, took apart, make sure that they're working effectively. Anytime you have an accident, you've got to replace the various components. And these guys are pushing. These kids are pushing hard. So they're driving, you know, on the edge, if not slightly beyond the edge. So things happen, right?
Okay.
Wear and tear, tires for every single race, fuel, which isn't too much, if I'm honest with you, fuel isn't too much, but then all the rest of the equipment is. And anything can happen, right? Anything can I remember one race Joshua was in, he was leading by miles, right? And it was one of those where I thought, because usually you're nervous all the way until the end. And I remember thinking, okay, he's in the bag. This is in the bag. It's absolutely, there's no way he's going to get caught. And he turned one corner, and that was it. And there was a small nut that on the back of his axle that had just wore out, and literally that was it. Race over. You know, a small nut. Now that nut can cost about £4, but you can go to town and get the titanium version of that nut, and that'll cost you £200. You know, so it's those sort of things that, you know, I wish we had the titanium one, because we wouldn't have had that issue at that race. Right. But, you know, fortunately he won that championship anyway. But you know, I would have preferred if he won it earlier. So,
right.
You know, yeah.
Right. So we're gonna go into questions. Jessica, unmute yourself. I see you got your hand raised.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, we can.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Real pleasure to hear from you. How are you?
I'm great. I am busy. I only have one question, but it's something in regards to the cost that I've always wondered. And I'm not sure if you're actually able to answer this, but are Formula One drivers allowed to, in a way, sponsor the young kids in the karting categories and younger categories?
That's a good question. Y'all better start coming up with some questions. That was a damn good one. Way to start it off, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica. Brilliant question. I'm not aware of any restriction that would prevent a Formula One driver sponsoring a younger driver. I'm really not aware of anything that would block that from happening. It doesn't seem to be a conflict of interest in any way, from my understanding. So unless there is something in the contract, I do wonder why more are not doing that, or perhaps it is happening and we're just not aware of it. As I told you, the industry is super, super opaque. It's really hard to see through, right? So.
And what brain? Why do you think this is? I'm not going to ask you to indict yourself. Say I know exactly why. Why do you think it is extremely that way?
You know, it's competitive. So I suppose with and particularly in a sport where 100th of a second is valuable, right? You're going to hold on to everything you can that gives you that slight advantage, and that behavior pervades every aspect of the sport. You know, no one even shares. When you're on a track, you have to determine the tire pressures before you put the cart onto the ground. The moment the cart touches the ground, you can't change anything, right? No one tells you what tire pressures they're using. It's a secret, right? No one tells you what gearings, what you know, grip settings they've done. That none of that information is shared, right? So if at that level no one talks about things, you can imagine that because it's so individually and singularly competitive, no one is going to give away anything, you know.
Got you. All right, Maria, I see you. Maria Duncan, unmute yourself. By the way, that another VIP member right there. Unmute yourself, Maria. You got it. Let's see if she gets it in. Maria.
Okay, can you hear me?
There we go. How you doing, Maria?
Okay, so sorry, apparently not very good at Zoom early in the morning. I'm on the West Coast. Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Mike. How are you guys?
Good. Good morning.
Very good, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. First of all, I want to thank you, Mike, for taking the time to come out and talk to us and share your insight into karting. And I want to also compliment you on Joshua. He seems like a very fine young man. I heard the last space. I was very impressed with him. So my question sort of piggybacks off of what Jessica said. I was wondering if there are any resources available to Joshua and kids like him through Lewis Hamilton's Mission 44 or any of the other, I know there's some other collaborations he's involved in as well, which I was under the impression were designed to assist young people like Josh in terms of getting rid of barriers of entry into motorsports.
That's another
again,
good one.
Absolutely fantastic question. So what my understanding of Mission 44 is really aimed at trying to increase the diversity of individuals that participate in the world of motorsport rather than just driving, right? And the world of motorsport therefore requires a majority of people to have a greater depth of technical skills. So most of the initiatives that I am aware of and I have engaged with them a little bit, but we're continuing to. So perhaps more will come up. Are to try and get people from underrepresented backgrounds into the world of STEM. That's what a lot of his initiatives are towards at this stage. So is there anything there reserved for driving and drivers? At this stage, I haven't seen anything, but it's not to say that that door is closed entirely. It's a pretty new enterprise. And I believe that, with anything new, they're still adjusting to the direction that they need to go in and the decisions that they need to make. I am hopeful that actually something like that will come out of Mission 44, but let's wait and see. Having said that, the what they're doing right now, I think is pretty good. I think we are underrepresented in the STEM space. The world of motorsport is wide, much wider than we realize. So there's drivers, there's engineers, there's marketing people, there's sales people, pretty much, catering. Every avenue you can think of in every other business exists in Formula One. It's a world on its, so and the fact that we're not represented in any aspect of that is a challenge, so I believe that's one of the things that he's desperate to try and address.
That was a good one, Maria. Now everybody understand this, like you will be able to ask as many questions. So if you get muted, then put your hand up for another question. We just want to make sure that we try to get through everybody and let everybody, take part in this. Massacre, you're up, bro. Unmute yourself. Another VIP member.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning, good sir.
Hi. Well, first of all, thank you for accepting this Q&A. And I I can't speak for everybody in the Wolf Pack, but you guys have our full support in your endeavor.
Much appreciated.
And I also wanted to say I looked up a little bit about your background, and in medicine we use. We were discussing this among my colleagues. I know it's a little bit of a deviation, but we were discussing this among our colleagues. But the use of AI is actually starting to really pick up. In intensive care units, for example, you can. There are some studies have shown that the use of AI actually predicts by up to 15 minutes an adverse events from occurring, and it's not better than a human in that, like a human who pays attention that long also can predict an adverse event, but our attention span is just limited. It's like simple economics, and the use of AI is actually like really increasing. So it's really nice to see somebody in that field. I'm not a data expert by any means. No clinician is, but I thought it was like we had this discussion just last week. So it is really almost a godsend that I meet somebody in that field. But anyways, my question more specifically with racing is, does karting also involve are you allowed to try on parts, or is it like IndyCar where it's really rigid structures? And can you get a development edge by using your expertise in developing and giving the racers an edge? The funny thing is, I think he's a really skilled racer anyway, so he may not need the edge, but every little bit counts so that he doesn't feel like he has to go full out every time, and he can preserve fuel, or I don't even know if fuel is actually regulated like that, but if it is like Formula One where you have a limited, I'm sorry, I know you said one question at a time.
No, you good.
Yeah, but I just wanted to know if you can give yourself an edge like that, or if it's like Indy cars where it's so rigid that you don't, like, all cars are almost the same and the drivers are really what make the difference.
Great. I think that again,
y'all are asking, y'all coming with some questions today. You're not playing around.
I love that question, because I think what that question shows as well, it's firstly, it really indicates the fundamental difference between F1 and a lot of some of the other driving series that exist out there. So in F1, you as a manufacturer are given a set of boundaries that you can operate in, and the team can design, very much of what they believe is the most effective car. In some of the other races, very much like karting, you are given a chassis and you're not allowed to make any amendments to that, or you're given a spec of chassis, of which there are certain manufacturers that produce them. Now, I do think that if there was, an opportunity to go in there and flex a couple of things here and there, I'm sure people would do that. And there's definitely, I think, opportunities there. Fuel is regulated, so you are limited to the things that you can change, but you can make changes, right? So you can use different weights. There's a weight limit, but you can use different screws. Joshua is light, so he has to have lead on the cart in order to distribute the weight correctly, or to have the right amount of weight. But then at that point, you can be clever with some of the distribution, right? The distribution of that lead, where, for example, some larger drivers with their center of gravity will mean that in the wet, they're able to turn corners much easier than a light driver who has to put lead on different parts of the cart. So, there's options there, but not that many. To be honest, a lot of it is down to the driver and the engine. You're allowed as many engines, I believe, you have to register the engines as well that you're going to be using. But the engine can give you the absolute edge, on that. There's some engines that are fantastic at acceleration. Others have a great top end, but not great at acceleration. But these are hundreds of tenths of a second. However, it makes a difference on the for a racing driver. So, I hope that answered everything, Mesker. I think I tried to capture.
So there are no fuel restrictions.
You did. I appreciate it.
There are fuel regulations
in the car. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Got you.
So you can even, for certain races, they will even restrict the place in which you get the fuel from, so that they can guarantee that it's the same petrol. Because that can make a difference. By the way, there are people who put things in the fuel that make it faster. Fortunately, if you're in a podium position, there is scrutineering. Cool. And during scrutineering, you have to dismantle all of that. Most of the time it's tested. I think there's even certain things that people put on their wheels to increase grip and things like that. It does make them faster, but it's also very carcinogenic. So so of course, most people wouldn't do that, but there are still some that I've seen.
Right. Akando, you will unmute yourself.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, Can. Good day, sir.
Good day. How you doing, Mike?
Very good, thank you. And you?
Oh, wonderful, man. I'm glad you're here to talk with us, and this is a treat for us.
Same here, by the way. Thank you.
I have a question. Is sponsorship for, like, say, for instance, like McLaren or Mercedes is allowed in karting? And if so, would that help with the cost and as far as getting all the parts or getting the better parts as your competition?
So yes, sponsorship. So some of the larger teams do sponsor karters as part of their young driver program, but this becomes a little chicken and egg. So I will speak guardedly on this subject, right? So there is a certain point at which most sponsorship occurs, and at that point, you're paying a ridiculously large amount of money. So it'll cost you about estimates of between 10 to 15,000 pounds per race in Europe, right? And it's at that point, I believe, a lot of them begin the sponsorship journey, rather than early at the local and national championships. This is my understanding. So take that with a grain of that you're only hearing from me. There may be more underneath that, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because to get on to add to his question, because like we've had a couple of questions, whether drivers and then Akando brings in the teams. There are teams that run basically camps or have clubs where they're in the karting regime, correct? Or is that not the case? It's not until you get to the F series where you're going to be adapting into their programs.
No, there are some teams that are so they're sponsoring kids in the European championships. In the FIA races.
So once you get there, so what are the costs like incurred there? Are they pretty much taking all the costs, and then it kind of becomes a contractual type deal once you get in there? Like, is that kind of how that's working at that point?
I don't know. Right.
Got you.
So,
got you. But you're playing. We're working to get there, though, right? We're working to get
absolutely. That's You know what, I'm hoping to be able to answer that question to you very soon. So
okay,
all things going well, hopefully that's an answer I should be able to give you in a bit more detail, very soon, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Jessica, I see you. You kicked it off. Go ahead, unmute yourself. Y'all get some more questions ready. I see y'all in here.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Okay. Mike, do you feel the exposure that Sir Lewis gave upon you guys when he invited you along to the Silverstone GP? Do you feel like it was good exposure to possibly get good sponsors to hopefully help you along your journey?
Jessica, I didn't hear you very well, so I'm going to try and play back the question. Did you ask?
I got you.
Was it?
I got you. She asked that Sir Lewis inviting you all out to the GP and to the paddock. Do you think that exposure was good exposure for you as far as maybe getting sponsorships or getting more views as far as other teams or other people that might contribute to your path on getting to where you're trying to go? And I'll add to that too. Do you at all think that there may have been some negativity that may come with that? Because we also know how anything that Lewis does may be, it always kind of has like a shade side. So if you could package that, I hope you don't mind, just I kind of package it up a little bit with your question. So yeah, if you could probably hit that.
So I think, look, I think with those sort of things, just as you said, there are two sides to that. I think it does give greater exposure because Lewis inevitably has more people paying attention to him. So if Lewis says something, more people are going to become aware of it than if Joshua randomly says something, right? So being invited is also a privilege. I mean, we don't get to interact with the likes of Sir Lewis Hamilton. So if he sends out an invite, we were pretty pleased to have received that, and it means that somewhere along the line, someone has seen Joshua within that camp and has thought that it'll be nice for a young racer like Joshua to be invited. So that's fantastic. We did have a little difficulty because it's also right bang in the middle of his championship, and Friday is practice day, right? And so the typical weekend, Friday's practice day, Saturday you do the qualifying, the heats, and so forth, and then there's the races. Now that meant Joshua missed practice. He missed Friday practice. It's a sacrifice we sat down and made the call to make, but we had to discuss it, because he's serious about the journey that he's on. Right. So, but he chose to attend. And he managed to do okay over the weekend, and we were very honored and privileged to be invited. And I think we did get a significant amount of exposure as a result of that, So it also happened to be the same weekend that Joshua broke his arm. So he missed Friday practice, showed up on Saturday, broke his arm, raced on Sunday, and still managed to come second. He didn't know his arm was broken.
That's what I'm talking about. Tough, built like a truck.
He didn't know his arm was broke. We found out the arm was broken because after the race on Sunday, he was still in a lot of agony. So when we got back, the next day we went to the hospital. They did an X-ray and they're like, yeah, there's a fracture there. So
dang. All right, Messiker, I see you. And Maria, I got you coming up next. So keep your hand up, Messiker. Unmute yourself. You up?
So I had a question. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you, bro.
All right, cool. Well, hopefully the channel will be big enough at the rate that it's going, and by the time he makes it F3, hopefully you'll have a Wolf's Den sticker on him. But
appreciate that.
Yeah.
So get that on there now. Yeah, I'm a big fan already, and I don't know anything about karting. But if you had a choice, I know beggars can be choosers since there are such limited seats. But what would be the ideal trajectory for him in F2, for example? I hear Art is very good, and I hear obviously Mercedes is very good for Formula One. I'm not too familiar with the Formula 2 teams, but what would be his ideal trajectory to get into Formula One, and what is the pathway that you kind of have charted and see it as realistic?
It's a good question.
Ideally, the ultimate path would be for him to end up in a young driver program of one of those big teams. That's the ideal scenario. Now, first prize, all of them have represented or shared their values and their missions. We're also value-driven individuals in this household. So when we pick who to, if it's a job that we're looking for, if it's something we're doing, the values of that organization are absolutely key to the decision-making process that we have in our house. And so that will be a big part of, if we're fortunate in that we have a choice, then that will be a big part of it. How do they operate? We're looking out for the welfare of our child. And so as part of his dream, we also have to make sure that he develops as a strong human being who can handle everything in front of him.
I just want to say also, since it's still within my question, that the only way that I will wear Red Bull gear is if he is in the Red Bull Academy. That is the only way, just so you know.
Yeah, I won't be commenting on that.
Massacre clowning. Y'all are clowning. All right, Maria Duncan, I see you. Massacre Tier 2 VIP, by the way. I got the coins right here, bro. I'm going to get your titanium coin, Wolfpack coin sent out. Monday, you will be going out. Maria, unmute yourself. You good?
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
I can, yes.
Okay, great. First of all, Mesker cracks me up. That guy's too much. Yeah, so my question, Mike, is if someone wanted to make a contribution to support Joshua in his journey, so we have bragging rights down the road, you know what I mean? How does one go about doing that?
Good question.
That's a beautiful question. Let's set up a chat. I think you shared my contact details before, haven't you?
I did. They're in that video, and they'll be in this video as well too.
Yes. So please, I think once those are up, share them. Sorry, I keep hearing. I've got a little dog, so there's a few things that are jumping around in the course. So apologies for that. Please get in touch, and we take the discussion from there. Really, because it's one of those. It's important to understand, whoever is looking to try and contribute, what their goal is as well, as part of that. Is it a long-term thing they want to be involved in, or is it just initial? Would they like additional visibility, because Joshua does get picked up by the news and things like that? And getting a better understanding of the goals and ambitions together is where we find a form of congruence or synergy that allows us to together make a decision that is impactful for both of us. So that's how we do it. But very excited for anybody who's willing to come along the journey. I would also love to explore personally if there's any disruptive ways of doing this. So there is the traditional way where you get you raise as much money as you can, typically from very, very high net worth people for whom a return isn't required. And then you participate. I would love if anyone has any ideas how we could be a little more disruptive in this space. I think I'll be all ears, because we may have to think of cleverer means to get to our goal.
I like that, and that was an awesome question.
So could I add something?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, Mike, if you have any kind of ongoing fundraising available, like like there are crowdfunding sites like GoFundMe and what have you, that just make it easy for someone to throw down whatever amount of money they have to support a cause, a person, whatever. Is there anything like that you have set up either now or from time to time? Maybe you do.
I have not even thought about that, Maria. And I think you've just sparked my imagination. I was just like, why wouldn't we do something on GoFundMe? So look, if any of you know any experts in that space, that would be fantastic to have a chat and maybe think about a GoFundMe strategy. That would even as you said, Maria, if it's a one-off, that's still worth doing, right? So absolutely.
I like that. Yeah, definitely. That was a very good question, and going into that. And if I think I got somebody, if I have somebody, I will put you in contact. And I definitely know I already put you in contact with Troy. Troy also, I think he has somebody that handles that. So y'all probably could reach out. And then also, even if it's Joshua does have a YouTube channel. And on that YouTube channel, you all might want to look in to see if the super like is available, where it puts a heart and a money emoji up there on every video and his channel. And it would make it easy just for people to hit that, and then they could donate or put money through that, and it would go to an account. So we'll definitely look into that, Maria. That was good. That definitely will bring up some very creative brainstorming. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I got to thank you, Maria. And also the questions, by the way. This is all really fantastic. It's quite inspirational. I'm very humbled to hear people who are keen to find out more about this journey. You know, it's rare for us to be able to share as we are doing now. So I'm very thankful and grateful for that. And I just love it. It almost feels like a great strategy session for us to just try and work out how we help this kid get to achieve the mission. So I think this is huge. Thank you.
Right. Akondo, I see you. Go ahead. You got to unmute yourself.
Okay, to add to what Maria was saying, I think that you could possibly do like a YouTube channel. And if you do a YouTube channel, not only do like, get enough subscribers and viewers to where you could do like super chats and things like that, like we do over here in the Wolfpack. Also with that YouTube channel, because when you do like videos and you make videos, like little snippets of videos of Josh, doing races and race setups and all these things, that also brings a revenue. So that's probably something that you could do also.
Yeah, definitely, Mike. If you got questions on that, man, we can get together and hash that whole thing out. I will lay out, all the options that YouTube allows you, and if you need help on how to set those up and organize them, like, man, we do not mind. Like anything where you all need help with whatever I know, I will be more than happy to provide that information. Because like you said, now I'm quoting Mike now. Do not go and then pull the ladder up. We brought a lot of ladders. Let's just drop them down so that we can progress and grow from here. So I love what's going on here in this session, and the questions y'all are bringing, the ideas we're bringing. So y'all keep that coming. But definitely, Mike, we can hook into that.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I love these ideas. Please keep them coming. And yes, we will absolutely have that session, you and I, and jump into some details there.
Facts. Reezy, I see you. Go ahead, unmute yourself, lower your hand, and let me know if I hack that name up. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, it's right, Reezy.
All right,
man. Once again, appreciate you taking your time being here, man. My question is, are these races broadcast, or is there any way we can watch them, man? Because I mean, we want to follow this. So it's like crack cocaine. I'm addicted to it, but just for the record, I've never taken crack cocaine in my life. But
noted.
I want to watch this kid. I want to watch him race, man.
Right. No, excellent. And like you, I can't identify with the analogy, but it is.
We different over here. We got character, personality, and integrity.
I love it. But it is broadcast on YouTube. So in fact, what I'll do is share with you the link so that you can watch them. They in fact, and some of the previous races are on there as well. So for this championship, I think if you just type in Super One, but they're like 6 hours long because they televise the whole day, and you've got the different categories racing as well. So
share that link and I'll put it in the video as well.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Definitely. Behavedave, unmute yourself, lower your hand. I got you.
Hi Mike, how you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Just quickly, I just think on that last question and answer, perhaps you or maybe Wolfpack might be able to get in touch with some sort of editor for your YouTube channel. So
yeah,
you could literally just bombard him with a few videos from the last race, etc. Then he could just literally pump it up to your YouTube channel. That might just take a little bit of work away from you, because you're just literally offloading to an editor, and I think they get some sort of cut of the video or something like that. I don't know. Wolfpack probably tell you more.
You're about right.
No, great.
So
Dave, are you local, Dave?
Wolverhampton.
Oh, okay, great. A couple of hours away.
Yeah, not too far.
Yeah, there was a couple of people here that's around your way. Sylvia Kelly, she's in here. She's around that way. But what Behavedave said is actually true. And I messaged her. I got you as soon as I make this point or the suggestion. There's a couple of little programs where you can pay people, and it's really not much, and have them make you like 6 clips, and then they'll send you the clips, and then you could just upload them. So we will also, if you want to get with me, and we can also get into that, because I believe the social media is like the newest card, and Joshua has a lot that he's going to be offering. But if nobody really sees it in a different light or can access it, it's a little bit more difficult. So if we could take some of that video that he's doing on track and really translate it across YouTube to gain an entire different audience from all over the world, that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That would be, and again, these are skill sets that exist within the wider community. So look, I'd love to be able to jump in and utilize them. And we'd have to be lean about it, because it's not something my wife and I have expertise on, and we're the ones looking after those sort of things. If you look at our Instagram, you can see how schoolboy it is, because it's that's just us doing.
Got you, Massacre. You up next, bro? Lower your hand. You good? I got you low on the hand. You could just unmute the mic. I got you.
I don't even have a question. I just wanted to say, tell Joshua that he has fans, and yeah, I'm down with the whole fundraising idea. It's such a fantastic idea. So I'm happy to get started as soon as, I mean, I have no expertise at all, but I'm happy to get started as soon as it's up and we're ready to get going. But let him know he has fans. That's very important to me.
Excellent. Yeah, I will do, and he will appreciate that as well. It means a lot to him. Yeah.
So what does his typical Sundays look like when it's not a race?
Well, actually, today him and his 2 younger brothers are off to a festival where they're meeting with other young kids from the community who have a whole range of interests, and they're all just sat around sharing and exploring all of those. So it's great, because his younger brothers can also share. His younger brothers into speed cubing, and they get to share some of those with the wider community. It's all about see me, be me is a big mission that we're trying to do here. So the greater exposure we have to other people that look like them, that are doing fantastic things, is always useful in terms of that part of the inspirational journey for them. So yeah, that's where they are. Yeah.
Right. I know you said in the video that Delina attends most of the races, right?
Yes.
And she definitely does a very good job diffusing some of those landmines that exist around there. Because I've seen the karting environment, man. Like, parents can get crazy out there. Like, I've talked to Troy, and me and Troy there's some situations that happen out there where Troy thought like fist blows and cuffs and everything else was going to come about.
Yep.
Have you ever been in that situation? And if so, how did you diffuse it? Or was it just like people went to sleep and then they woke up later? Like, what happened? Like, what may have been the case with that?
Sadly, these situations do still happen. We've had some where other kids have used really inappropriate language, which sort of gives you an indication of sad household they come from, right? So it's they shouldn't be saying some of those things. Some of the tracks have taken what I believe to be a really good approach to reducing that, in the paddock and in the pit area, and also in Parc Fermé, I should say. The only people that are allowed there are the mechanic and the driver. Gotcha. And that significantly reduces the emotions that are taking place in there. Now, there are some parents who will then say that they're the mechanic, right? So, and so you can't sort of diffuse that completely. But there is a code of respect that Motorsport UK has come up with. We, as a governing body, and we are very aware of that code and are making it explicit to all of those who are participating in events run by Motorsport UK, but also those who are license holders. So every race driver should be a Motorsport UK racing license holder. They have to do their tests in order to be able to race, and they need a certain number of signatures to be able to participate in certain races as well. So that means, as a result of that, they all fall underneath that code, and would therefore have to be they adhere to the terms and conditions that has, which includes their behaviors.
Okay. Yeah. We're gonna take 2 more questions. 2 more questions, and then we're gonna let Mike go because I know he's busy. I know we're all busy, so we're gonna take 2 more questions.
Just before you do that, I
got?
just wanted to say that I might have spoken a little around that subject because it for anybody who's there, these things can get quite intense, and the last thing we need is to sort of put others in a position where they become targets or any of those sort of things happen again on another racetrack and things like that. So it's
right.
Yeah. So
right. Mike said, let me cover this real quick. Let me. It's all right. What you got, Mesker? Unmute yourself. You good?
I just wanted to know if it's as sterile as an environment as Formula One is. Like Yuri Vips, for example, learned very quickly that he's a marketing machine and nothing else. So you can't, you got to control your behavior. You got to have a very polished image as much as you can. Whereas or is it like soccer where people come up with elaborate chants about what you did last Sunday, for example. Like, at least that was my experience when I was in the field. Like they talked about somebody's DUI. They had a whole song come up for a DUI. And Formula One is very sterile. Like the drivers are supposed to be, they're marketing agents at the end of the day. They're representing a brand. So I just wanted to know if it's as sterile as Formula One or if it's as, I don't know, like, not dirty, but cheeky as soccer is.
Yeah, I think Mesker, the environment is slightly different. It's a good point. The average, we call it football, you call it soccer, I guess, right? So the average football fan, you're sat there for 90 minutes maximum, and that's it. That's the end of your day. Whereas with racing, you're there for it's a full day's worth of activity, and so therefore the crowd is moving and it's dispersed. It's very different from just sat in the stand from 8 a.m. when they start to 6 p.m. when they finish. That's not what happens, right? And then also, if you're singing or coming up with a song like they do in football, no one can hear you because you've got the sound of the engines all over. And actually, most people who go to motorsport go for the full brain experience. They go there to not just see the cars, but to hear them. Sound is really, really key in that sport. To smell the fuel, it's a very different smell, than a smell on a football pitch. All your senses get impacted by being there. The vibration of 12 carts going past you at 65 miles per hour, you feel that in your body. And so it's a very different crowd, I suppose, that an answer to your question. They come for a full day's experience. They don't come for 90 minutes and then disappear. Also, from the karting side of things, they tend to be at the karting level more supporters of individuals rather than teams. Because whilst everybody's racing, things like, there's 2 ambulances at every track. So ultimately, your parental instincts will come in when a child is in an ambulance. It doesn't have to be yours. Do you get what I mean? So it's a slightly different environment, I guess, and that's why you'd see some of those differences.
Yeah, I know you talked about those buses last time, and that's not there for show. So I will ask this question. I've seen accidents in karting, and of course, you don't have anything overhead. Have you experienced accidents in karting with Joshua as of yet that would have, given you second thought to the sport?
Oh yeah, his first competitive race. We were up north on the track, and he seemed to have started really, really well. But experienced drivers, when they see a gap, they will just take it, right? And Josh thought he could do that at that stage, took the corner a bit harder than he needed to in a crowd, and got flung out the kart. And that was his first competitive race. And it was so funny. His mom was on the phone to me. I was there. So she's like, "Is everything okay? Why is the race stopped?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll just call you back." She's like, "No, you got to tell me what's happened. Did something happen to Joshua?" I was like, "I'll call you back." So yeah, that was, the early days. It wasn't pleasant, and I also remember the very first race we watched when he wasn't participating. Massive accident. Kids, right in front of us. The ambulances were there. The whole meet had to be stopped because they have a rule of ensuring that there are at least 2 ambulances present or something like that. and both ambulances had to go. So no one could, everything had to be canceled. And, so it's not enjoyable to see that in any way. Safety is a concern, but I don't know the physics of it. Some people say that the kids at this age are made of rubber, so they tend to bounce around a lot more. But remember, the kids are going, up to 65, 75 miles per hour. There are corners that are 60 degrees in angle, and they're taking them at ridiculous speed. And to be better, you've got to be brave enough to brake a bit later than your competitor, right? So, it's all in the guts of that. And sometimes none of them will yield. And so there is only one thing that's going to happen if no one is going to yield a corner. So it's difficult because the ambition doesn't match the safety requirement, right? So, it's a difficult one.
Well, Mike, do you want to give anything out, especially Jessica? You know what? Since you kicked us off, I will let you kick us out. So we'll go ahead and unmute yourself, Lawyer. I got you on the lower hand.
Sorry, I just thought about this question.
No problem.
Mike, would you guys consider doing any form of karting over in America to maybe expose him to the other different racing categories that we have here? Or would you only want to stay over in Europe for his path to Formula One? Because I don't think the path to Formula One is over in America, unfortunately, right now. But I just want to know what your thought is on it.
I'm very open to the world of possibilities in the world of motorsport. So I won't ever say no to something like that. It'll be a case of how do we fit it in? And how do we make it work? I think that we've had American Formula One drivers, although they've had to end up in Europe. And whilst I talked about that path, particularly with karting, there are, a lot of people like Karun Chandok who didn't kart in the UK, and he joined the sort of European scene at F3 level, So there are a few different pathways that are available. And I think we shouldn't I think some of those doors will be shut for us rather than us shutting them too much in advance. So it's worth exploring. My dad used to tell me when I was younger, always have the coffee, because you never know what comes out of it whenever you're having a meeting. So this is one of those that I may look at in that way and say, let's have the coffee and see what it means, what it opens up,
I like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we make note that we're going to get the link. Good question there as far as people being able to watch Joshua at these races. And I will get that link from Mike so that I can post it in this video. And also I will post it in a Twitter post. Also, Mike, feel free. We're going to reach out. We'll collab on trying to especially improve the social media pages. And let's talk about some YouTube options. And then from there, let's also look at somebody who can see about the monetization, because I can tell you everything I have, but if I know, or if anybody else that sees this video knows somebody that's credible, has some integrity, and is not scamming out here, because we got them going on, please reach out to me, vetting process, please. And then let's see if we can connect the family with somebody who can help monetize, show them and structure that monetization and get that money up so that Josh will have as much wind in his sails as possible to flourish and be successful in this path. All right, Mike, I definitely thank you for spending this time with us. You all asked some fire questions. This is what I like. And I like it to be a brainstorming thing too, to come together, not only ask questions, but also formulate ideas that can help progress and grow from here. Y'all did a great job with that. And Mike, you did an awesome job handling that too. And I hope that eventually another day you'll come back, and especially as things get on, maybe we get Joshua on if that's something that you all can do, especially if you want to be there, but get him on so they can also ask him questions, motivate him, feed him with positive vibes as well.
Hey, look, if it's okay with you, I'd love to thank everybody who participated here today. I enjoyed answering the questions. The questions were fantastic, but more importantly, actually, it was a little therapeutic for me. So I've got to be very grateful. I am very grateful for that. And strategic. Some ideas have come from this that we hadn't thought of. So genuinely, it's one of those things that your questions have just been absolutely amazing. And this has been a fantastic experience. So, honestly, the team at Wolfpack, I got to thank you guys immensely, for all of this as well. So genuinely appreciate all of that.
They are great. I got a great community, man. I couldn't be more blessed to have the community I have and the support and the love and just the admiration that they uphold. Like I admire them as well. I keep doing it because that energy that they give is just awesome. So big shout out to y'all. Y'all make it possible for real.
Yeah.
So that's another episode of the Wolves Den. If you're not in the den, it's because you're not in the den. There is a way to get in. Like all these other wonderful people supporting and loving each other, peace and love, and joining the channel. That's how we do this. And it gives you an opportunity. I know a lot of you all comment and then you answer, but this gives you the opportunity to actually meet somebody who's valid in the space and get the answers. And maybe not all the answers are the answers you want, but those are the answers of the experience. And then you can take that and maybe it helps you with a better idea. Maybe it helps us find out how to support these people more and push them more. So Wolves Den is it for another episode. We will be back again. And you all stay safe. Peace and love. Thanks for watching another episode of Wolfpack Performance. Don't forget to check out some of my other content on Formula One and motorsports topics. Like, share, subscribe, and we go live on the weekends. See you soon.